Should Scrum Masters know how to code? That is the million-dollar question that I'm going to be answering in today's video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, drop a like if you get value out of this video, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or maybe you want to share your perspective, your thoughts, your ideas on this subject matter, let me know in the comment section below, and let's get a healthy conversation, debate hopefully, going down there. Also, please make sure you share this video with all your Scrum Masters, whether they're current Scrum Masters or aspiring Scrum Masters. I really do believe this video is going to help out a lot because imposter syndrome is a very real thing, and I'm going to try to address this in this video. Do Scrum Masters need to know how to code? Well, let's put Scrum Masters into two different camps. Traditionally, most Scrum Masters work in a software related industry. And that is traditional because that's where the world of Scrum came from. It came to help in the advent of needing to quickly and more efficiently develop software as opposed to the traditional way of doing it in a waterfall methodology. But more and more industries today in 2023 and beyond, more and more industries are starting to adapt the way of Agile, the way of Scrum. And there's a bigger and bigger need for Scrum Masters in those organizations because you kind of need a Scrum Master to do the Scrum part. And so if you're in an industry where you aren't clearly doing software development, maybe you're in construction, retail, food, accounting, banking, all those financial industries, you might not be having to deal with code and you're still a Scrum Master. So the concept of this video might not apply to you. But if you're in the first camp, if you're in the camp where you just got hired on, you're a brand new Scrum Master to a new team, and maybe you've done Scrum Master in those other organizations, but now you're the Scrum Master of a software team, well, do you need to know how to code? Because this is a very, very important question that I'm going to try to answer here. And it's a very challenging one to answer because imposter syndrome is a very real thing, and not knowing how to code and being a Scrum Master in a software environment can be a very tricky thing to do. So let me start off with saying the most important thing and answering the question in the most direct way possible. You do not need to know how to code to be a Scrum Master. That's the easiest, most straightforward answer I can give you. You can do, if you put in the hard work and you study the material and you study how to be a Scrum Master, an effective one, you can be a successful Scrum Master without having any coding experience. Now, with that said, I'm going to basically 180 myself here and almost contradict myself. I believe, my thoughts, my personal opinion is, if you truly want to be a great Scrum Master, not just a mediocre Scrum Master, not just a Scrum Master that shows up and does their job every day, but if you really want to put a dent in your team, in your organization, then I believe, truly believe, that you should at least appreciate code. You don't need to know how to code because I know how to code, but I haven't written code in like 10 years. So you don't want me touching code at all because things are not going to go well. But I grew up with code. I studied code. I have a master's and bachelor's in engineering. So I understand how to code, how to read it, how to interpret it, how to understand the fundamentals of how coding works. And I do believe that this skill is very, very important for Scrum Masters because when you are a Scrum Master, one of the most challenging things of your job is that you have to influence with zero authority. And when you have to influence a group of super, super smart individuals with super, super high egos, because let's face it, our software engineers are uber smart, but those egos are very, very high up there as well. And so now here comes a Scrum Master, never coded a day in his or her life, has to tell a team of super smart individuals what to do, how to do it. I mean, I'm exaggerating a bit, right? You don't tell them, you influence, right? You're planning the sprints, you're doing that collaborative effort, but you can see it. If you're being a little cynical, you could see it from a perspective of the Scrum Master kind of tells the team what they need to be working on, obviously with some influence from the product owner and whatnot, but still, it's a very sensitive, delicate topic to be on because here's an individual that doesn't understand any of the coding. They're asking for estimates. They're asking for how much effort is this going to take? Give me some story points back. They're asking for priorities. They're asking for just a bunch of different information that a Scrum Master that has never coded before just simply doesn't appreciate. And this is even more self-evident when we talk about bugs, because bugs is truly, truly, truly a Scrum Master's kryptonite. Bugs are hard. Bugs are so freaking hard to solve sometimes. You may be thinking, well, what's the problem? We make a mistake. Go fix it. Yeah, except if you've never coded before, you have zero appreciation for how impossible some bugs can be. Some bugs are just so hard that it requires like a re-architecture of the entire platform. And so how do you estimate? How do you tell your Scrum Master, if you're the developer, oh, I don't know how to fix this bug. I don't even know where to find the bug, and I have honestly no idea how this bug is even happening. Right? Obviously, that's like a really, really worst case scenario type of situation, but it's something that I've seen throughout my entire career. Some bugs are easy, like a typo, very easy to fix, but other bugs are just fundamentally so deep into that architecture that it can take months, if not years, to completely fix. And when we're dealing with harder bugs, right? Obviously not typos, but just more in-depth bugs that do require some refactoring, some doing new logic of the code. As a Scrum Master that has never coded before, it's challenging to appreciate the complexity and the task that you just given to that developer. You're asking so much into such an unknown world for them and for you. And it's easy to sit in an ivory tower as a Scrum Master and kind of just ask for information, because obviously the Scrum Master is being pressured by stakeholders to provide information. This is where the process gets broken, because you have a lot of decision makers up at the top, a lot of stakeholders, a lot of product owners, Scrum Masters that never coded. They think dollars and they think schedule. So they think time and money. Then you have the developers that are really in the weeds. And sometimes you're working with a junior developer that's kind of inheriting a mess. Sometimes these companies up at the top for efficiency are letting go of their senior people. And those senior people know the architecture. And now we have a bunch of people that don't know the architecture. And all of a sudden one line of code here changes everything over here. And it just becomes a big mess. Trust me, guys, I'm telling you from real experience over the last 13 years of me doing this stuff, right? And we end up in these situations, in these scenarios that is so hard to really empathize with what the developers are experiencing and going through emotionally and cognitively, because you're kind of like in this ivory tower with a bunch of other higher level people that just want it done. They just need to know when's it going to get done. But that question is just sometimes so difficult to answer. And if you've never coded, this is kind of where I'm bringing it back to kind of end this rant that I'm doing here. But if you've never coded and you've never challenged yourself with writing a line of code and seeing how truly difficult it is to not only create something out of nothing, but to also fix something that is just clearly a mystery, then it's so hard to empathize and to acknowledge the troubles that those developers are going through. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for your development team. Coding is hard. And I think where the biggest misconception is, most people think that like in the rest of engineering, when you're building a bridge, a car, a boat, a plane, whatever, there's a clear playbook for steps, instructions that you should follow. No amount of schooling, no amount of experience can prepare you for some sort of a deep bug that was introduced by using like the wrong library or some poorly made hand-jammed variable that was done in the code base 30 years ago that now all of a sudden got changed and the whole thing broke, and nobody knows because this thing was written so long ago when, who, what, when, where, why that bug got introduced. So it's hard. Software is not like all the other types of engineering. Software is really more like an art. It's a very complex, more artistic thing to do, and it's not always clear. It's not always black and white. Software development is very much every color in the spectrum, versus building a bridge or a building, a car, a boat, a plane. That's a lot more black and white. There's some set rules that we can follow, some set instructions. You put in, you're going to get something out. And in software, you put something in, you never know what's going to come out the other end. Now, that is a bit of an exaggeration, I'll admit, because if you're doing this correctly, if you're architecting this correctly, if you're following great software engineering principles, you should be able to put something in and get something known out. But most of the time in these companies, we are working with inherited code. We're working with libraries that we don't fully understand. We're working with new technologies, new languages. Most people think that just because I know how to program in C++, I can all of a sudden go do any other language, Flutter, whatever it is, Objective-C, Swift, right? It's like learning multiple languages. So you just can't like put software engineers and just throw them into these projects and expect that gold's going to come out the other end. It's a truly complex thing. So anyways, you just really, really do wrap this one up, right? If you're a Scrum Master and you have never written a line of code in your life, I highly recommend go write some code. Not so that you can solve their problems or become a developer yourself, but so that you can empathize. Because when they tell you, when your development team tells you, I don't know, this one's hard, you can empathize. Because once you empathize, once you get on their level and they understand that you understand their challenges, your relationship as a Scrum Master is going to go better. Because now you're not just seen as the person from the ivory tower that's coming down from the hill and asking us for stuff that we just don't know. Now you can empathize with them and be on their level and have your boots on the ground with them and be able to fight for them, be able to challenge back up. Because let's face it, that time and schedule is what makes the world go round here. But the people that are usually at the top don't typically understand the struggles that are happening at that ground level. So if you want to truly be a great Scrum Master, not just one that is really good at being organized and knows how to coordinate sprints, but if you really truly want to be one of the greats, then learn how to code and learn at least to appreciate the product that your teams are developing, because then and only then will you be part of their team, part of their world, and your respect, your trust, your appreciation back to your development team is just going to be exponentially greater. And when you have a high performance team like that, then you can tackle any challenge. Because together, by rolling up your sleeves, you all can jump into this bug, into your challenges, figure them out, and then make progress. But if you're just like at opposite ends, and it's just like he said, she said type of situation, it's all hearsay, you're not going to make a lot of traction. People are going to be frustrated. So people at the top are going to look at the Scrum Master role as like, oh, they're not actually doing anything. They're not adding value because we're not seeing traction. We're not seeing progress come out the other end. And that's how we end up getting laid off. So let's avoid that. Let's learn how to code a little bit. We're not asking you to become like a full Mark Zuckerberg here. You don't need to know how to code the entire application. But you should at least appreciate software development as a concept, as the principles, and be able to help and fight and support your team and shield them a little bit from the decision makers that typically don't have an appreciation for software. Anyway, that's it. That's a bit of a rant. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you drop a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed and you made it this far and you like this kind of video, let me know by subscribing to the channel. And then if you have any questions, comments, concerns, perspectives, ideas, thoughts, whatever you want to do, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to read your side of the story. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.
It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now.